Hi, I'm Lexi Blake. You know the beautiful videos right now going around of The Witcher reading The Witcher? This is not one of those. Sadly, this is just me and two rescue dogs who are going to be asshole dogs. I love them. Yes, I love you. But yeah, I can't exactly leave them outside, so they're here with us today. I'm going to read you a little tiny bit of teaser of my upcoming novel called Long Lost. Okay. Ronnie bit back a yawn as the elevator started to go up. It had taken longer than she'd planned to get ready. It was surprising since they hadn't exactly packed heavy. You're sure we didn't need to bring the crib? Trust me, the way these people breed, they have a lot of options for you, Solo assured her. Violet won't be the only kiddo living here. The Knights have a son, and if Tag stays here for any amount of time, expect his wife and all... I think it's like 4 kids now? I could be wrong. I swear Charlotte spits them out faster than I can count. Would Vi be an only child? She hadn't really thought about it. All she'd thought about for the last few years had been surviving, but seeing Stephen today had her brain on overdrive. I want to meet this Taggart person and make my own judgments, her mother said. The Knight fellow, too. I take it this is an all-male group? Not at all. Solo glanced at the display that showed them moving up the building. They have several female operatives. This is the London office. Knight's wife often takes assignments. She's former MI6, but her specialty is languages. Carmen Vega is a new hire. She's ex-CIA. Nina Blunt is excellent at following people around. Ariella Disa is the resident profiler. She got married recently. I don't remember if she changed her name or not. Probably not, since Robert's last name was made up anyway. Maybe he took her name. Robert is one of the men found with Stephen. It wasn't a question. She simply needed to remind herself that the relationships here would be complex. Solo had told her there were 5 men still alive who'd been McDonald's soldiers. 2 of them had recently died in a mission that resulted in Stephen being in a coma. Tucker. She had to think of him as Tucker, and she had to think of him as a stranger because no matter what her mother said, she didn't think he was tricking her. Stephen Reeser was dead, but his DNA was still walking around. Did she owe him anything at all concerning their daughter? Yes, they're all here, Solo explained. Everyone who's left, except Theo Taggart. He went back to Dallas after the wedding. We might think about moving you there if you want to go back to the States. At least until we're sure you're safe. Dallas isn't our home, her mother said. It could be. Any kind of home would feel good. Any place where she didn't have to hide who she was. Any place where she could start over and try to build something for her and Violet. She wanted to get back to work, though she had no idea how she would explain the gap in her resume beyond the fact that she'd had a baby. Explaining why her last employer wouldn't give her a recommendation would be harder. The doors came open and she stopped thinking about the future because her past was standing right there. Stephen was still wearing a hospital gown, but she would know that naked ass anywhere. Despite the fact that he'd been in a coma, his butt still looked amazing. He wasn't alone. Ian Taggart was standing there surrounded by men. She'd met the red-haired Scot, but not the other 2. They were both tall, strong-looking men, one with dark hair and the other a golden blonde. Taggart seemed to be lecturing them all. I tell you to wear condoms, but pants are good too. Tucker, you need to be in bed. Jax, get your ass in gear. They'll be here any second. I don't want to have to explain. Solo put a hand on the door. Tucker, you're up. Ian, I thought we were going to deal with the introductions in the morning. He sighed as he caught sight of them. Sorry, Solo, the puppies got distracted. Stephen. Tucker stared right at her, his blue eyes going wide. How old is she? She'd known he would likely ask about the baby, but he wasn't merely saying, hey, didn't know you had a kid. Nope. The question was asked with that suspicious, hey, is that my kid tone. Wasn't he not supposed to remember anything? She was supposed to have the upper hand. She was supposed to get to spring this on him. Maybe if she stayed in the lift, Solo would get out and the doors would close and she could go back down. She could walk out and get in a cab and not look back. How had she thought this would be easy? How had she thought she could hold up Vi and say, hey, she's yours, but you don't remember, and I understand. So will you help take care of her financially, and we can leave it at that? As soon as I get a good-paying job and can use my real name again, I won't need help. Did the dude with no memory even have money to support a daughter he had zero connection to? Oh, this was stupid. Solo held the door open, blocking option number 1. There was nothing for it. She stepped out. The Scot said something that had the big blonde guy grinning as though he found a spectacular show to watch. Blonde guy said something about a soap, but she didn't pay attention because her mother was placing herself bodily between her and Tucker. She watched his jaw tighten, and for a second he looked like his counterpart. There was that ruthless will she'd always associated with Really? Really? Yeah, I told y'all. Guys. Oh my God. Guys, I've already read like 4 pages. I'm not going to stop. Oh my God. Just pause. There was that ruthless will she'd always associated with Reeser. He didn't like anyone getting in his way, anyone getting between him and what he wanted. Ronnie, how old is that child? A simple question, and yet there was so much tension in the words. She could lie. She hadn't even considered it until this moment. He'd been dead, so she hadn't had to consider it. Her brain whirled in those few seconds. Oh, she could lie. No one would believe her since Vi looked so much like her father. Then they would go through tons of tests, and the truth would come out anyway. Or he would accept it and not care. She could tell him the truth, and he could still not care. She would still be alone. But that was all right, because she wasn't about to trust him again. Even if he'd forgotten everything, the core of a person didn't change, and he was still lurking in there, the man who'd used her and left her. She's yours, if that's what you're asking. There, she'd said it. He stopped for a moment. What are you doing, Veronica? Her mother turned her way. I told you I wasn't going to lie. There had been far too many lies between them, and now he would explain that he didn't consider Vi his, since he was no longer the man who had fathered her. See, this is why I tell you to wear condoms, Taggart said under his breath. You never know when that fun night is suddenly going to grow a hands and a feet and need a diaper change.